What they've learned at teacher training college or whatever, they take what they're told to teach in the curriculum and they teach it, repeating. All over society, it's just repeaters. How do you know that? Well, it says that in this book. Well, how does he know that? Doctor repeaters, repeating what the drug reps have told them. Repeating what the medical schools have told them. Oh, and don't you dare go out of this little box, otherwise you get struck off. But it's working, I don't care. Repeater. Round and round. Scientists repeaters. We've got scientists repeating the song sheet. Global warming goes by carbon emissions because it says so. And then what they don't tell you is enormous and gathering numbers of cutting-edge scientists in their own disciplines are saying, it doesn't. It's the sun. Isn't that amazing? The sun has a connection with Earth temperature. Ooh. Repeater. Then there's journalists. Oh, classic repeaters. You see, what real journalists do is they take the official version of events and they look at it and they see if it stands up, and then they communicate that to the people. What repeater journalists do, 90-odd% these days, unfortunately, is they take the official version of events and they turn around and they pass it on to the people. And so instead of being journalists, they are simply public relations officers for the official version of events and life. And then there's politician repeaters. These politicians who don't say what they believe, don't stand up for what they believe, because that, if they go against their party, will mean that they won't progress and become a minister and their careers will be affected. So they become voting fodder for the tiny few who are deciding what's going to happen. And while all this goes on, all this comes together, all this obsession and acceptance of the movie version of reality, day by day, the Orwellian state stamps its jackboot closer and closer to global fascism. H.L. Mencken again said, the most dangerous man to any government is the man who is able to think things out for himself. Almost inevitably, he comes to the conclusion that the government he lives under is dishonest, insane, and intolerable. Why is that? Because governments are not there to serve people. They are there to control people and direct people down a certain agenda road. And once you appreciate that that's what the relationship is between government and people, control, what is happening today begins to make more and more sense when you connect the dots. We have the movie version of events, which hear on the television news and in the newspapers and stuff. And then we have the secret agenda behind the scenes, which is obscured and covered by the movie version of events. And without puppet people, it could not be possible. Follow the white rabbit, believe what you're told to believe, think that war is peace, even if you can't spell, that you're a moron if you're against slaughtering the innocent, and as Orwell said, believe that war is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength, and amazing things are allowed to happen by the vast majority, by the very few. You can pepper bomb cities of civilians and get away with it. This is what they don't want you to see. What's really happening in these wars of freedom. That's what's really happening. What do they want you to see? Hey, here's a game show. Watch this. Shut up. Hey, honey, I think he's going for the car. Liberation. This is what they don't want you to see about what's really happening. Instead, let's have a moral debate about Janet Jackson's breast at the Super Bowl. I'm morally outraged that this should happen. There was a moral outrage across America when this happened at the Super Bowl a couple of years ago or so. Where's the moral outrage? Where's the real immorality? This is what depleted uranium does to Iraqi kids. But never mind, hey, Jerry Springer's on. Hey, we've got some boneheads here being manipulated to have a fight on live television. Hey, honey, he's going to hit him. It's a mind game. People said in very large numbers in the early 1990s that I was crazy, insane, having a midlife crisis. I'm sure many people still think the same. But I tell you what, if I am seen as sane by a world this crazy, I'm disappointed. It seems, like I say, desperately confusing and bewildering, this world, because we don't have the coordinates. I'm just going to go through a few. Coordinate number one, let's get this one out of the way. The biggest terrorists are not in the street, they're in government. At best, terrorists in the street can kill a few hundred people, maybe 1,000 or so sometimes. What they can't do is impose sanctions on Iraq during the 1990s, which according to UN figures alone cost the lives of 500,000 Iraqi children. They can't pepper bomb Baghdad. They can't slaughter and maim what is now estimated to be in excess of 1 million people in Iraq since 2003. Terrorists in the street are not in the same league as terrorists in government. Coordinate, oh, no, it's a definition of terrorist. This is an interesting one. Oxford Concise Dictionary, how appropriate. One who favours or uses terror-inspiring methods of governing or coercing government or community, hence terrorism. Precisely. Coordinate number two. The goal is a centrally controlled global fascist dictatorship, which has been worked towards for a very, very long time. The reason it seems to be happening quicker and quicker now is they're getting closer and closer to it. And it's an interesting little truism. The more you centralize power, the more power you then have to centralize even quicker. And that's why the speed of centralization has got faster and faster and faster throughout the last century and into this one. This is the basic structure that they're looking for. A world government that would control all major decisions in the world. Controlling a world central bank that would control global finance. A global currency which would not be cash in the end, it would be purely electronic money, for which there are fundamental implications for freedom. Because if you go into a shop now and you hand over electronic money and they say, no, won't accept your card, this computer won't accept your card, then at least you can still just say, well, I'll pay cash then. Once cash is gone, that's what the cashless society is all about, that computer decides if you eat or not.